Hi there, I'm Tom from German PHP Magazine. I'm here with a very impressive and a very powerful woman, Juliette Reinders Folmer. Hey, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Thomas. My name is Juliette Reinders Folmer. I'm self-employed. I'm based in the Netherlands. Amongst other things, I work as a programmer, but also as a business consultant. I'm a member of PHP Women, and I very much would like more women to join the industry.
You've had 2 sessions here in Munich. One of them, we had a talk on Sunday, and it was very interesting because you said on PHP conferences you're going to talk about WordPress, and on WordPress conference you're going to talk about PHP. And you said that PHP developers should learn more from WordPress. Why?
If you realize that 20% of websites currently run, all websites worldwide run on WordPress, we have something to learn. Because there is a message there. I mean, if it's so easy to install, it runs everywhere, then they're doing something right. And the code may not be the prettiest, but the whole thing about usability, the way they make it easy for people to use, make it very well-known project, I think we definitely have something to learn.
Are there any other projects who have the ability to be so big, or especially any other PHP projects?
I'm probably not the best person to judge that, but if you look at the complete field of work, Zen Framework and Symfony both are making a big splash as backend frameworks, and I don't know the figures of how many websites are run on, with a backend of a Symfony or Zen Framework, but I do think they are definitely having an impact on the industry as well.
Your second session was about UTF-8 and the problems we occasionally ran into. So what are the main problems of UTF-8?
The main problem is actually really simple to explain. Everything, and I mean literally everything, defaults to either Latin or ASCII.
And that's it? That's the whole misery of UTF-8 and its problems?
I would definitely say so, yeah. But the thing is, if everything defaults to Latin or ASCII, if you don't explicitly tell the whole, the whole cadence, the whole range of things you use to use UTF-8, if one of them you still uses Latin, your data might become corrupt. So you really have to be explicit everywhere. That's the only problem. And then the problem people run into is that they don't realize that everywhere is actually a lot more places than they first think. One of the examples, I would say, of something which is often forgotten is, for instance, your FTP connection. Most people would FTP all their files and use the FTP program default, but like HTML files by default will be sent over as ASCII. If you use a UTF-8 characters in your HTML file, they easily can become corrupt. You have to send them over as binary.
This explains some issues I had. Okay, but it's another. Okay, so why do you have to deal with these problems, or what was your reason to deal with these problems?
The reason I actually learned about UTF-8 and actually made every single mistake I tell about myself is because I'm the worldwide project leader of a project called Remember Me When I'm Gone. Remember Me When I'm Gone is a worldwide project for memory books, where we try to inspire and motivate parents who think or believe they might die young to make a memory book for each and every child. So the child can later know, in the words of the parent, who the parent was. And that project is, as it's worldwide, we try to make the basic booklet available in as many languages as possible. And obviously you run into problems with scripts.
But there are so many communities. There's not only the PHP community, there's not only the WordPress community, we've got the typo community, the Joomla community, the Zen Framework community, Symfony community. This is a problem, isn't it?
I wouldn't so much call it a problem, but I would rather call it a challenge. I think it's a bit silly having all these different communities. I think all these communities could learn from each other. They all use PHP. So one of the things I try to do is cross-contaminate. I've spoken about UTF-8 at a Joomla conference. I've spoken about UTF-8 at a WordPress conference. I spoke about WordPress at a PHP conference. I'd like to try and build some bridges, and I would very much like it if more people would try and do that. Try and mix communities and make people in other communities aware of the fact that there's more communities than just their own.
To be honest, is it necessary to deal with the PHP core anymore? Because if I'm a WordPress developer, or if I'm a Symfony developer, or whatever, I've got the tools that the framework provides, or the environment like WordPress or Joomla or Drupal. So is it really necessary for me as a developer to have a view on the PHP core or on the other communities?
I believe so.
Why?
I believe so because there's still new things being added to PHP. And just to give a simple example, 5.2 gave us a filter extension. And by 5.3, it actually became really interesting. Documentation is still a bit lacking, but a lot of the bigger projects haven't implemented that yet because they're cross-platform and they have a code base which has grown over the years, so it's an old code base, and it works. But the filter extension would work better. And you still, in your own plugins, for instance, need to validate your data. So it's very useful to know about the new developments in PHP and where you can use them in your own projects.
Speaking of code quality and all this kind of stuff, you mentioned that WordPress itself, the core, is really a good software. So it's a good and clean code base and secure, and no, not.
I think you're misquoting me there a bit. It's a secure code base. I wouldn't say it's a clean code base. It's old software. In other words, it's grown over the time, and there's large parts which are being completely refactored and really are becoming clean, good code. There's also still large parts which aren't good, clean code, but it is secure. And any security issues detected with WordPress core are solved within no time. They're really very conscious of security, and WordPress core is secure, unlike what most people think. The problem with security with WordPress is the themes and the plugins. And again, the problem there is that a lot of people, the actual starting point for starting with PHP is it's easy to start. And people start, therefore, and then don't really know what they're doing in PHP and release a plugin. And their code will not be secure. Their code might actually not be any good. But those plugins do make it into a plugin repository, and people will download it and use it. And that's where your problems start.
As you mentioned before, you're part of PHP Women. Can you tell us something about this organization?
Of course, more than welcome. PHP Women is a non-profit initiative for both men and women. And one of the major aims for PHP Women is to lower the barriers for women to enter the industry. I remember the first time I went to a conference, I felt either completely ignored or like people were looking at me as if I were an alien. And that's not very comfortable. And I know it's getting better, and it depends on which community you're in. Some conferences are better than others in that respect. But it's important, I think altogether it's important that there's more women entering this industry. I think the code will actually, both in quality and in total quantity also, improve if we have a larger group and a more diverse group of people contributing to it. So let's welcome women.
So what can I do as a man, or what can every woman out there can do to join or to support you?
First of all, you can become a member of PHP Women. When the membership is open to both men and women. Everyone who supports this course is welcome to join. Also, there's a conference called Code Connects, which is organized by PHP Women. The major difference between most other conferences and this conference is that it's got only one track, and it's got a technical talk and a work-life balance talk. technical talk, work-life balance. So it's a different atmosphere created just by the choice of talks as well. It's something which you can really personally do is at conferences, have a look around, see where the women are, see if there's one standing on her own. Go up to her, introduce yourself, make her feel welcome. It'll help.
At least I think you feel welcome here in Munich, because I really appreciate to meet you here, to talk to you. As I mentioned, I'm really impressed, and I thank you for taking time and for being here in Germany, and I hope I'll see you sometime around.
Thank you very much, and I definitely do feel very welcome, and I thank you for having me here. I enjoyed being here.